On August 9th of this year, I was given a very gracious invitation to attend the men's No Walls discussion group. This was an honor I prepared for about 3 weeks, and I was well repaid for my visit. And I have to say that while I was sitting there listening, there was one question that surfaced more than any other. And it was basically, why go to church? So I thought, okay, I like that question. And here goes. Years ago, I remember that a friend of mine had just graduated from college, and she was looking for a job. And she knew that she wanted to go into sales. But instead of turning to the paper's want ads, she asked herself one question. Of everything I own, what am I most excited by? And she knew the answer to that one, hands down. Her Honda. She absolutely loved her car. So she went to the local Honda dealer, explaining to him the reasons for her enthusiasm, and voila, she got a job. So I was always intrigued by that story, and in preparation for this sermon, I asked myself the question, what do I love almost more than anything else? And in all honesty, I have to say, the church. And I mean it. And I'm going to try to explain why. It started when I was little. My mother was always a dyed-in-the-wool back pew attendee. Some of you can relate. But I never liked sitting back there. I always liked knowing what was going on and sitting up front. So I joined the front pew people. Those were the people who were hard of hearing. Those were the people who called themselves the geriatric row. So I joined them. And my unofficial pew buddy was Mr. Boyle. I always sat next to Mr. Boyle. He saved me a place. And every so often, maybe once every 6 months, he would slip me a nickel. I'd gesture, making sure that he didn't mean for me to put it in the offering plate. But he would smile, point to me, and I was 5 cents richer. I can't recall having any significant conversations with Mr. Boyle. Yet I do distinctly remember feeling that he valued me. What a gift. One of the tenets I remember from the King's organization, Thrive, is the undeniable importance of an affirming relationship with someone outside the family. And where better than church can one find someone like that? In fact, church is one of the few intergenerational institutions around. Where else can you find toddlers and senior citizens sitting side by side? As I grew older, another thing that I loved about church was that it always gave me a chance to work together for a common goal. Were I at home and asked to clean my room, that didn't go over so well. But take me to an all-church cleanup day, and I had the time of my life. I loved working hard, not by myself, but I loved working hard together. There's nothing like it. And I can see by the smiles on your faces, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I like the story of a man who ran his car into a ditch. He got stuck, and for the life of him, he could not get out. So he asked a local farmer for help. And the farmer said to him, I have a mule who can do the job. He's blind, but he's strong. And so the farmer hooks the mule to the car, snaps his reins, and calls out, Come on, Sam. You can do it, Shep. Let's go, Sparky. And the car is good to go. Well, the man thanks the farmer profusely, but then he says, Excuse me, but could I ask a question? Why does your mule have 3 different names? He doesn't, responded the farmer. But if Sparky thought he were the only one pulling, your car wouldn't have budged an inch. I learned early on that there is a real joy in working as hard as you can together. I know a proverb which goes like this: one stick by itself cannot a bonfire make. But think of what we can do together. Well, those were my thoughts as a child, and maybe the last one came in the teen years. But were I to try to answer that question as an adult, why do you love church? I think I would respond primarily with 3 reasons. I love the church because it challenges me to look within. It enables me better to look around, and it helps me to look up as nothing else can. First, looking within. It was Nancy Ellis who stated so simply yet eloquently, I go to church to express my gratitude to God, to say thank you, and to tell him I'm sorry when I've done something wrong. And every week I come before God with at least something that I wish I had done differently. And always, instead of leaving church feeling guilt-ridden and ashamed, I feel like I do when I'm driving with my GPS, and my guide, who speaks with a beautiful British accent, says, recalculating, and sometimes recalculating. But that's what God says to me. In confirming my ultimate goal or destination, at the same time, he's continually redirecting me as to how best to get back on track. That's what I love about coming to church. Some people say that they don't go to church because they don't want to feel as if they're hypocrites. But I could never understand that, and I still don't get it. To me, it would be like saying I show up at the doctor's office to show everyone there in the waiting room what great shape I'm in. Jesus said, those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick. I come to church because I know that I need Christ as my physician. I need him for my soul every week, and that's why I'm here. I feel like the man who said, you know what I'm like with church in my life. I shudder to think what I would be like without it. I can say the same. The message of the church is that its arms are open to everyone, not despite our inadequacies, but because of them. The message of the church is that even with crooked sticks, God can still walk straight. It's here where grace becomes real. Well, secondly, the church helps me in the way that I look around. It constantly challenges me to look past myself to the needs of others, and I thank God for that gift. It reminds me of the story of the irate parishioner who received his newsletter from the church. He read it, ripped it in two, and then fired off a very angry email to the pastor. He wrote, "Wherever I turn, the church wants me to give of my time in teaching Sunday school, to give of my money in supporting causes, to give of my attention to visiting sick people, and I'm tired of it. The message that I get from your church can be summarized in one word. It's give, 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 give." The pastor wrote back, "Thank you for the best definition of the purpose of church that I have ever seen." When you join the church, you promise 4 things. You promise to give to the church your prayers. You promise to give your presence. You promise to give your gifts and your service. And yes, that is a lot of giving. But my question is, what would your life be without those things? Imagine never saying a prayer for anyone. Imagine never going to worship. Imagine never hearing the hymns. Imagine never giving the church any money for any cause or ever doing anything to serve it. Service, for me, is what gives life its meaning, its richness. And can anyone regret that investment? When you give to the church, to each other, to the needs of the global community, you give of the very best that is within you. And that is when, through Christ, amazing things happen. And this is nothing to say about what you receive. These past years have been extremely healthy. I can remember one time when I was in pain due to a cracked tooth. I had a crack that went right through, the nerve was exposed. I was in agony. So I wasn't able to do my usual rounds. I was lying down throughout the day. The doorbell rang, and there was a balloon from Elaine Triplett. And it said, "Hope you're feeling better." And I thought, I get a balloon for a cracked tooth? But that's what happens in this church. When we see another hurt, we respond. And in every response, the living Christ is there. And then, finally, the church enables me to look up. I feel as Oliver Wendell Holmes did, who wrote, and I quote, "There is a little plant called reverence in the corner of my soul's garden, which I love to have watered once a week." People say, "I can be reverent on a golf course. I don't need church." But for me, there is something wonderful to be said for what can happen when you designate a time and a place to meet with God. I can remember once being crestfallen after a date when a nice guy said something like, "This was fun. I hope I see you around sometime." And I'm thinking, see me around sometime? When? Let's get out the calendar. If you really want to see me, don't leave it up to chance. And somehow, when we are intentional about carving out time to meet God, it's like saying, "Lord, your presence is truly important to me. I will be here at 10 o'clock Sunday morning, and I hope that you will meet me here." And on some Sundays, invariably, you will feel as if you've been stood up. But at other times, on other Sundays, maybe through the music, the anthem, through the scripture, or from going to the fellowship hall after the service, you will feel without a doubt that you were called here by name, that you are here in this place, standing on holy ground for a reason. When you come to church, you experience what it is to become a part of someone who is so much larger than life. You intentionally expose your soul to the highest being in existence, the highest being the mind can comprehend. And in the midst of God's awesome presence, you say, mold my life, even my life, whatever I've made of it so far, so that Christ, your Son, can live within me. Give me the courage to speak Christ's truth, to love with Christ's compassion, to forgive with Christ's grace. And then when you do that over time, the church becomes for you the place that the Apostle Paul described in the letter to Ephesians. It becomes a place where you are given a spirit of wisdom. It becomes a place where you know the hope to which you are called. And it becomes a place where you discover the immeasurable greatness of his power. Thanks be to God. Amen.